So gang, the ISA, OSA lead coordination or level 3, like that's I think our official Paula title, like level 3 of the org model. Who here is in that level, like level 3 or higher? So you've got showing assistance, you've got lead coordination, and who here is approaching that? Let's start with higher, level 3 or higher. Hands. Cameron, Janet. Siobhan's just laughing. She's not even gonna participate.
You're like, I just got in here. I don't know what you're doing.
We're raising hands if we are level 3 in the org model or higher. So level 3 would be showing assistant and or lead coordination. So I got Cameron, Janet, Sam. Awesome. And everybody else, we are approaching level 3, in level 3. Gina's like, yes, Lauren, we've got some head nods going on here. Cool. Okay. And Carrie or Hannah, who just entered, is right in level. Okay, let's be real now. Now that Hannah's here, let's get honest. How many of us have actually somehow jumped over level 3, so we don't have showing assistance or lead coordination, but we got like just a crap ton of agents? Yeah, sweet. Okay, good. That's most of us on the call. Okay, good to know. Cameron, we've got ISAs now. We got some ISAs going on with Hannah.
Yeah, we're backfilling. We're jumping back to level 3, but with a lot of people.
Yeah. Cameron over there doing a couple hundred units, but just totally skipped level 3. Okay, so let's talk about it. Who's got questions? I want this to be your hour, right? So let's start with whatever you guys have that's most important. Are we talking OSAs, ISAs, lead coordination? Do we know the difference? Bring your questions. Let's dive in. You have no questions. No, Cheryl's coming. Let's go, Cheryl.
I have a question. Because we have been saying we were going to hire an ISA, OSA for years. And I mean, I know it's better to have one in-house, but we would like to start with a virtual just because we don't know what we don't know. And it would be nice to have somebody that's trained, that knows the script, so that we can kind of wrap our head around it all. But the thing I always forget until I'm about ready to hire is that in our state, they have to be licensed to do prospecting. And so most of the virtual places, I mean, they're all unlicensed ISA. So we're back to square one again. Like, what do we do?
So from experience, we did phone animal. They circle prospected literally by the zip code or by the county. Here, I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas, small town. And we did not set one appointment from that. They set a bunch of cold and warm appointments for us. Once we got to start talking to them, these people are like, who are you? How did you get my number? No, we didn't really want to sell. They just kind of like, no. So that was like 4 to 6 months, in 2019, of a complete waste. Okay. We didn't have a good experience here in our small town. From hiring a third party ISA, I'm sure there's other companies. We now have an in-house person that she used to be a full-time agent. She went back to a full-time job and we brought her back into the office, and she's on referral, so we can do that here in the state. So maybe look within your market center of somebody that's a part-time job or a full-time job somewhere else, not real estate, and see what you can do to bring them back. But make sure the KPA and their DIS fit that profile.
Yeah, that's the part we were trying to avoid, is just finding talent. That's not going to be an easy role to fill. It's not going to be an easy one to train. Mm-hmm. So we were hoping to be able to outsource it a little bit, but I don't see how it will work, since most of the companies use somebody outside of the country. They're not licensed. That's why we jumped level 3 and never had an ISA.
Though this is real, right? So Hannah's talking about like hiring out, circle dialing. Of course, you can hire out ISAs for your pay-per-click leads. Like there's pools of like specialists. So depending on who you're talking about, you're going to have different conversion rates on that data, just like you would with an in-house ISA. Let's, if you don't mind, back it on up a second. Let's talk about why you get why do this anyway? Like why do you need ISA, OSA, lead coordination? What's the why? What's the point?
To be completely honest, we have, well, my husband's the rainmaker, so we have him and then 2 other agents. Our agents are fantastic at what they do, but they are not fantastic in that role. They're still, after millions and millions of dollars of volume, not great on the phone. And the fact that they're, busy. I think they would do very, very well. I think our team would take off if we had somebody that did that role really well, because we have leads coming in and we have, auto campaigns that send texts and emails, and then we call and leave the message, don't get a great call back. But if somebody just focused on that, I think our team could do really, really well.
Zach, could you screen share the org model?
Yeah, I'll pull it up and then we can share. I have it and I'll pull it up.
Okay, cool. I love to take a look at it because level 3 is like probably like, this is my soapbox, y'all about to get on it, because we skip this level and this is the $1 million level. Like this is the level where you can net $1 million for the first time, and there's so much going on here that we often skip it. And when we skip it, we also bypass our opportunity. We like elect into a lower profit margin unnecessarily early. So let's talk about, what is going on. You have your rainmaker level 1, that's the U. You've got your rainmaker and your first admin level 2. Level 3, we add in that transaction coordinator. Level 4, part 1, that's what we're really talking about here. Scooch us up, scooch. Thanks, Zach. So then we're adding in, like at the same time, pops up here on the model, and lots of clients ask me which one actually comes first, because you get showing assistant and you get OSA, ISA on the model. Now, this is from 2017, so it doesn't actually say OSA, ISA on the newer versions. I believe it says lead coordinator, and that's important. So keep that in your mind. So we have lead coordinator and showing assistant appear at the same time. Who comes first? Who's got an answer? Who's got a thought? Who comes first? Level 4, part 1.
That's where we're at right now. And that was my big question is, my rainmaker wants a showing assistant for a buyer's agent. I want a lead coordinator to handle all these leads that we get from the gold letters. And we're at a crossroads. What do we do? She's saving already for a showing assistant. And I'm like, I don't know. So what does come first?
Who's got thoughts?
So I think it's wherever you could increase your business, right? Like if you have so many buyers that by leveraging your time or your agent's time by hiring a showing assistant, that could double your business, then great. If you have so many leads that your agents aren't following up, then it's got to be the ISA to get the more business. But I can see why Gary just jumped right into having both of them, because it's almost like as soon as you get an ISA, you're going to hurry and want to get a showing assistant. When you have a showing assistant, you're going to like, I have all this time, I need more leads to work. And so it kind of, I feel like they are at almost the same time thing. But that was my thought, just whatever would leverage you better.
My fear is that with the way that the market is, our buyer's agent is busy, but it's false, if that makes sense. Because he is busy, but he's showing so many houses to the same people. And I see how he is taxed, but if we continue to do that, get a showing assistant, are we just showing the same people over and over again, different houses, and they're just not going under contract because everything is so competitive, so that's my juxtaposition right now. And that, that's where I'm at.
Who else has a thought for Siobhan?
Well, one thing that we kind of have a hybrid because we do have some ISAs, but they actually are employed by the agents. So 4 of our agents have assistants and they do the ISA duties, and we do have somebody in town. So his assistant does his showings. And so it's a little bit, it's not exactly according to the model, but and we have 3 VAs that are excellent in the ISA duties. They get appointments all day long. 2 of them are better than 1. So I think, for us, we're kind of handling it by having assistants. So it's kind of a double duty for the same person, if that makes sense.
I thought about, could this person do a hybrid of both? But then I come to, I am not an expert in what the KPA looks like for an ISA, what it looks like for a showing assistant. Do those mesh? Are there somebody who is good at sales, an ISA position, also be able to, have that hybrid role? Does that make sense? Thought about that as well.
When we first started hiring our first showing assistant and ISA, well, actually our second one, we tried hybrid and they're completely different personalities. So it's pretty hard to go that route with those 2 roles because you need somebody that's kind of bubbly for showing assistant, but then you don't necessarily need that for the ISA. So in my experience, it was really hard to do hybrid with those 2 roles because they're just completely different personalities that you need for each role.
That's what I figured would be the case. Yeah.
I think even aside from the personality thing, the issue we would have is our ISA does a lot of tracking so that we know what's going on with the leads and stuff. And so having them out of the office or out away from a computer to do the showing would interfere with that tracking and would interfere with both jobs.
So spot on. When we think about the tree we were just looking at, like the levels, right? Level 4, part 1. These, at this point, you have 3 people plus a transaction coordinator, but you have 3 of these like first line people to the rainmaker. And the goal would be, if these people were hired exactly perfectly, your lead admin becomes who?
Director of operations.
Your DOO. Who does your showing assistant become?
Lead buyer's agent.
And who then becomes your director of sales, right? And then your OSA, ISA, and I prefer the word lead coordinator. Your lead coordinator becomes who?
Your director of Legion.
Your director of Legion. So at this point, if you've hired well, you've actually have 3 of the like business directorships, the human capital on the team that's going to become directors. So these are 3 really key hires. It's like true, just pure talent in each of those seats. If you get this right on this level 4 hiring, thanks, Zach, level 4 hiring tree. So we really do want like an incredible talent. When we're talking about a showing assistant, we're not usually talking about like someone to just fill a temporary gap that, is maybe not a great agent, but could just kind of step in. Like this is a real talent who's going to grow with the company. Just like the EA, we wanted them, because that's us, to be this true talent who's going to grow to directorship with the company.
Yeah.
I often wonder, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to tag along with what Megan said, because it's spot on, right? That's the most misunderstood part about the models, even in the MREA, and how they work together. The idea and casting and having an idea of where your business is going to look like and who supports that, right? And when it talks about talent, it states that talent is not based right on what they're great on. It's based on, are they great for the specific role that you want them to do? And do you know what that role is going to grow into? And I think for a lot of us, in what we typically see in here is just, well, I don't want to run buyers anymore, so I'm going to get a buyer's agent, right? Who may not be set up to grow into that role. which is what Megan's brilliantly pointing out, right? Or the same thing with a ISA, OSA. We don't look at that as a permanent position in a foundational piece of our team that helps us grow. We look at it a lot of time like a stopgap, like my agents won't call, so I'm just going to get an ISA, OSA to do it, right? Or the other thing we'll hear a lot of times too, when it comes to that, is just using them as, well, we're going to start with that position and then maybe we'll let them be a buyer's agent, which lessens that role, right? It actually takes away from the importance of that role and makes it almost kind of like a first stop before you get to a buyer's agent, when that's not the case. The model is built to where it's a foundational piece that helps you grow and turns into that 3-tiered leadership role, which is what Megan's talking about.
One question I have with respect to that, because that's exactly what's happened in our area, that the idea is, okay, come on in, you're going to be the ISA for 6 months, and now you're going to move into an agent. So then I'm sitting there going, but you keep taking away my people. I just got someone good, and now you're going to take them away. And so that being a revolving door seems problematic to me, but also it's problematic to find someone that really wants to do the ISA without that big carrot of moving into an agent. So I'm curious about that part, because I'm challenged on that right now. I just have my ISA now, he's moving up. It's like
So one thing we did is we just finished the Mastering Inside Sales Maps coaching course with Anna Kruger. There's also one for us that is how to hire, train, and retain the ISA. It's fantastic. I had my ISA and I took the Mastering Inside Sales, and it was worth the money and worth all of it. And we went through a few kind of ISAs, kind of like y'all did. They were half showing assistants, did ISA work, they filled in, they went to a full-time buyer agent. And this starting off the right foot with the Mastering Inside Sales and then hiring Angie, our ISA. It's on track, going forward.
love that. How long is the Mastering Inside Sales course?
It's like,
Is it 3 months?
3 to 6 months. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah.
So I always think that everyone wants to just make a lot of money, right? That's the big thing. And so if you were to like take away like money from everything, like how many people could you find out there that would just want to show homes? Like everyone that gets into real estate, it's like, oh, I just love seeing houses, so I'd love to show homes. It's like, if they could make their income that they want, they would be a showing agent forever. And it's the same idea with an ISA. There are people out there, I think they're weirdos, but they just like to talk on the phone and have their 9-to-5 job, and that's all they do. And I would struggle with that. And so I always put that into my mind too, like, oh, how would I ever find someone that wants to do this? But I had a roommate that's what he's done for 20 years now. I'm like, you're crazy. But if they can make the kind of money that they want to, I don't think that there's any leading or revolving door that you'll have, because it all comes down to, are they doing what they like and they're good at, and can they make the money?
As long as there's not that hierarchy, right? Like that is such a great point, Cameron. It's like if you took everything else away and you just loved what you did, what would you do? Like all else equal. And yet if there's like a hierarchy on the team where somehow the ISAs are less than everybody else, there's going to be like this internal pressure they put on themselves to graduate, because no one wants to be like the dummy who got left behind. So you do need to be cautious of that.
Yeah, it's what does that vision look like, and do we have that org chart of where we're going, right? So like if I joined your team, when you're sitting down discussing with me the 30, 60, 90, the job description, like what my potential income is, are we also having that casting vision of this is the potential in our company and where you can go because you're a part of it, right? So we get that talent. And a lot of it comes down to, honestly, right back to the fact that we say we want people to make a lot of money on our team, our actions would show otherwise. And I know that's going to hit hard for some of us to take in, right? But we'll be like, what happens is that at the end of the day, you cannot hire your way into profit or out of trouble. It doesn't work that way. And yet that's the video we see, right? Because like Cameron said, everyone does want to make a lot of money. But what happens is we'll have a buyer agent do 12 deals. And our questions never, who can we bring in to support them, or what do we need to change to make sure they're making a lot of money? It's, we just need another buyer's agent.
Man, Cameron, you got Zach all fired up. He's bringing the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Yes, like how do we support, like to Janet's point, there's the model is the model and the model is great. There are other models, like sounds like Janet's running sort of a hybrid of the Jen Davis model where the buyer's agents run their own teams, like each buyer agent can support their own team. Which, by the way, if you're a student of the Jen Davis model for buyer's agents, it's literally just the org model, but as a buyer's agent. So she hires an assistant first, an EA, not a showing a partner. She hires an assistant first, then she hires lead coordination. This is my favorite. Like this is kind of my preferred Siobhan. This is why Siobhan wants a lead coordinator, because she coaches with me. Then she hires lead coordination. Then the last thing she hires is showing assistants, and that's the model she coaches and teaches, all over the country for buyer's agents underneath her.
We run Jen's model. So Jen is in my market center. So we get to have her here, but we actually run her model. So we kind of took that from the whole team as well.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like that works. It's just the org model inside a buyer's agent's business.
Yeah. It just looks a little bit differently when you're like planning your org chart out through the next 5 years or whatever.
Yeah. Love that perspective, Sam.
You hire when you're maxed out. That's the way the org chart is built. But very rarely do we wait, right? I mean, and not that you want to wait all the way till you're maxed out, but even when we're approaching it, usually we pull those hires much earlier. And the question is, why don't we have a single buyer agent instead of doing 24, which we see a lot as the standard? Why don't we have them doing 50 and not bring on another buyer's agent?
Yeah. What if they could do 200?
The question has always been, because like when I started on the team, there was my rainmaker who does only listings, and then our buyer's agent who is her father-in-law. And so I come to a team where we have a listing agent, we have a buyer's agent. So it's like I look at the org charts and I'm like, well, where do we fit in? What do we, and maybe that would give me an answer towards, showing assistant versus somebody that coordinates leads, because we have so many leads that are just not followed up on. And that's what worries me. It's like, why do we put the money into gold letters that are not followed up on, with I guess passion, like get them, go get them. That is not me. I'm not good at that. Although I try to wear many hats, it's just not one of the things I'm good at. So that's where I struggle. I'm like, give me a lead coordinator, coordinate these leads,
This is where Siobhan gets on her soapbox.
Oh yeah, I'm passionate about it because I just see all the waste and I'm like, why? Why? Because I feel like that'll be the quickest route for us to go to showing assistant,
It seems so obvious too. I don't know why they don't see that for you, because if you can show them how, like, that's crazy if you're generating leads and no one's touching them. Like, why are we just throwing money out the window? I'll take the money because I have a director of lead gen and I'm hiring an ISA tomorrow. So they want to give us the leads, we'll take them. We can coordinate them. I don't know why I'm sorry you're struggling with that.
Yeah, I mean, we have, so my rainmaker's mother-in-law, this is very much a family business. She will call the people back that respond to the gold letters. And then we'll get an appointment, but there are so many times that from that appointment, like people disappear. And I want to know what is happening between appointment and disappearing that we could do differently. I don't know if that's on the the agent, or if that is something that even if it was followed up upon by somebody else, not me, how could we change that the rate of which we turn an appointment to, a transaction and a closing,
Yeah, our director of Legion, she does all of that for us. She actually gave me the numbers today because we're presenting an offer tomorrow to an ISA. And I mean, she has the potential with her bonus structure in her first year to earn, I think it was like 80,000 with the bonus. And we're only starting at a base of 35, which is a little low in our market, but our ISA last year in a COVID year, her first year made 65. So, I mean, she's super motivated, and I think this is going to be a great fit for us. And I'm lucky, like, we haven't even talked about showing assistance on our team yet. We have 4 buyers agents. The first thing we do is try to figure out who's our A buyers and make sure we're working with the right people at that time. And then if we get in a pinch or something, we use our market center and we just pay agents to show, like, new agents that are eager or that our MC or our team leader will recommend for us, just to use them as needed.
Yeah, we're actually in the same boat as well, where we have some amazing agents and their follow-up is not the absolute best. I mean, like on average, like every morning, probably like 30 brand new leads uncalled, and it's been like 12 hours. I know it breaks your heart because we all know, we're like, wow, these are really hot, brand new people. And there's also no sense of urgency. So I completely sympathize with you because I feel that same pain. And so, as a company, we've decided that we want to take that back and we want to own that and help, increase or decrease the time that it takes for us to make that first initial call. So Jess, I don't know if you don't mind, but we're also in the process of hiring the ISA with the intent that they may grow into that lead generation director position. Where are you finding those people who are scoring high in the ISA? Are you posting on Indeed? Are you trying to, contact brand new agents who are recently licensed? So any input you have on that kind of interviewing and finding them would be great.
Yeah. So our director of Legion is actually on this call. I made her join with me, but she started it. She was doing and no, Michelle, what was it? What were you doing? You were prospecting on LinkedIn, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yeah. So she was like prospecting them. I ran ads through WiseHire that goes to a bunch of different sites. And to Janet's point, I kept telling my CEO, this is the hardest hire for any to find. Like it definitely is the hardest. We've been looking. Michelle, how long were we looking for an ISA? You started it, and then.
Yes, we started reaching out and to similar type of roles in different industries on LinkedIn last year, last quarter. Typically November, December timeframe, we were, really targeting and reaching out to other markets that were similar, like recruitment or healthcare staffing, any type of, strong background of heavy lead gen calls per day. So just really, targeting similar companies in the Atlanta market. We knew we had to price, give a strong enough competitive offer to draw someone in from outside of the corporate world. But that does pretty much a similar position. So I actually came from healthcare staffing and both an account management and recruitment full desk model. And so I had, a strong background between 60 and 90, calls per day, 30 plus, contacts per day, and really developing on those relationships. So I was able to really, allow that to transfer over into the ISA role really easily. And so we targeted very similar type of industries for a couple months, and we didn't have very much success. So then we started putting it out some outbound ads to draw that attention.
The offer we're making tomorrow, she came from WiseHire. She was actually on the Sanders team, and she reached out to us. But before that, she was at Active Pest Control, and she did inside sales for Active Pest Control. Another good one is insurance, because they have agents that do and inside sales all the time too. So she was award winning on her, upselling termite bonds or whatever. And then she got into real estate and she was award winning on there. So her compensation, someone asked me, what we're offering is 35 plus a 3% on a closed appointment. And
Hey guys, it's Jen Napoli.
We-
I'm sorry, I'm driving, so I'm not on video, but we have 3 ISAs right now. We have a really great relationship with leadership on our team. So they've actually sent over 2 of the ISA hires that we have. And the other one I found through an Indeed job posting that I put out.
And how do you guys like work around? I know somebody else mentioned it too, is that when you have an ISA, I know in our state as well, that they can't actually schedule appointments. So are you guys locating or trying to aim for somebody who actually has a license, or do you guys just work around and hope you don't get caught using an unlicensed one, if that's like a rule in your state?
I think that's part of the thing that makes it the hardest position to hire, because you can have so many different industries that need an ISA or outside sales and or outbound sales. But for us, we do require you to be licensed, but we give you 90 days to start. But luckily we just found this unicorn that we're offering tomorrow. So she's almost done with her school exam and she's about to sit for her state exam. So hopefully it'll be sooner than later. But I think that's what makes it so hard, not the sales, sitting at a desk doing sales. I think it's the passion for real estate too, combining it.
We had a lot of people that applied that had experience in inside sales, but then it just did not translate over as far as having a passion for real estate. So they just didn't see the value in investing in a real estate license. So that's where a huge challenge that we came into is either they were really interested in real estate, but they saw it as a stepping stone, like we've discussed, as far as a stepping stone into an agent role. And you really want someone that's looking at it as a long-term, desire to stay in and inside sales and move up into that lead gen model. And it's just, that's where the challenge is you get a lot of people that are qualified. Either they're used to making more money doing the same thing, or, they just don't have a passion for real estate. So that's where I think the biggest challenge, we ran into.
I'm just curious how many people actually have ISAs offshore out of the group. Are there a lot, or because it sounds like most people have them here in the US? So just 1 then, 2. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, we have like a virtual assistant down in the Philippines, and she spends half her time contacting like expireds and FSBOs. And again, like she can't schedule appointments, but they're kind of like follow-up appointments. So it's like, when can an agent call you back to talk more? And then she also spends the other half of her time recruiting for like new agent talent. So that's why we've had her, though, unfortunately, again, like we're all kind of talking about, it's hard to actually set appointments. So it's important to invest in somebody who's able to.
What do you do with your leads that come in at night or on the weekends? Like that's one of the draws to the virtuals is they'll say, 80 hours a week, or they're working 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you have somebody in-house, then what happens to the leads that come in at, 6 o'clock or Saturday? How does that get followed up?
Our ISA has a shifted schedule, so she works 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I think it's Tuesday through Saturday. And then we have a couple hours, I think in the morning and a couple hours at night, that where the agents are in charge. And if they get those leads and that, it works out, then the ISA commission doesn't come off of their part of it. But otherwise she follows up the next day.
On our team, we have 3 ISA OSAs and they're just on like a rotating schedule. So like one may be on call Saturday, one may be on call Sunday, and then like they would be like off or come in late a portion of the week if they were on call. And then they call leads until I think 8 p.m. at night. And then after that, they just leave them until 8 a.m. the next morning.
Do they all work from home?
Where we are actually in office. So they're in office. We're in office from 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever time they get here. And then on the weekends, they do them from home and in the evening times.
Our leads that
We
come
also-
and get answered by our ISAs faster than the agents would have answered it.
We also have a rotating schedule for inbound calls. They have a weekly like commitment, and we have 3, so they're each assigned it for a week and then passed along to the next person.
So for you guys who do have an ISA, do you have all brand new leads just get funneled to the ISA first and then they're distributed to your agents, or do you just put them a part of like that rotation of new leads?
So on our team, our ISAs call all the new leads, and they even follow up with them until the appointment is set. Once they set the appointment, it gets passed on to the agent. And we do it based off a pipeline stage. So once they go on the appointment, if it like say they're a buyer C, it would go back to our ISA OSA to follow up with in the meantime until they're ready.
Mine is the same as Samantha's as well.
Great questions, guys. Keep them coming.
I have a question about showing assistants. Right now we have one that works exclusively for basically our lead buyer agent. But we're considering getting a showing assistant for the team that maybe everyone could use. Has anyone done that model? Like, how does it work out? How do you work scheduling and pay structure?
We just failed with that. I don't know if it was just us or the whole model, but we tried it. We just did it with like our top 5 agents could use her, and everyone wanted to use her differently. Some said, I'll set up the showings, you just go. Others said, I want you to find the houses and show them and set them up, and then maybe even help with the offer. So everyone had a different expectation. So that might have been part of our problem, is just not setting the expectation, but it did not work for us.
Yeah, the hardest thing for us when we had a team one was, especially now hitting busy season, is how do you choose who they show if like every agent has a showing at the same time? So that for us was like the biggest thing. Like their compensation it's based off of a percentage of the commission of the buyer's agent is how we set ours up. But that's what we ran into, is how do you choose who gets that person for a showing? Like, do you rock, paper, scissors it? Like, so that's where we ran into that. So now we really try to keep it per agent that they have their own showing assistant. I am hiring one right now for 2 different agents, just because that's what they wanted to do. But I'm sure we're gonna run into the same thing of how do you choose who gets her or gets them.
Samantha, when do you decide that an agent deserves a showing assistant, or is it the Jen Davis model where they pay for that person?
Yeah, so they're paying for that person, so it's kind of up to them. Once they kind of reach that point, we have a discussion around it. So we have 2 agents right now that are kind of at that point, but they're not ready for a full-time one. I think they're going to realize really quickly they're ready for a full-time one. Each of them are, but that's okay. But it's kind of up to them. Like we run the Jen Davis model, so building a team within a team basically is what they're trying to do. And not all of our buyers agents are on board with that. Some of them don't want a showing assistant at all. They're like, I'm good showing my own houses, doing my thing. Some of them are like, yeah, I want to build a team within a team. So it's kind of their own discretion on our team. We don't force them to do anything. Like if we see that they're overwhelmed, we'll suggest it. We'll be like, hey, do you think it's time, if you're ready, to hire a showing assistant? And that's with one of our agents. That's how that conversation came up.
Samantha, what's the numbers you get to when you decide, oh, we need that buyer needs a showing agent? Like how many units roughly? I'm just trying to.
Yeah. So I mean, I think with each person it's different in what they can handle, as well as, probably their personal life as well, what's going on there. But like right now I do have one agent on my team. Her goal this year is 85 units. She's closed, I think 20, close to 20, and she's ready now. She does have kiddos and stuff like that. So her evenings are a little bit limited for her. I think that's more of why she's wanting it, but 85 for just her is a big goal. So for one person to be handling. So
that's huge. I can't believe she can do it.
Yeah.
85 units? Good.
Yeah.
Cameron, were you asking because the team is paying for that showing assistant salary?
Well, I just fell into this awkward time where one of my agents just hired his brother to be a showing assistant, and I think he's awesome. And the agent thinks that if he closes more deals, that the team will pay for the showing assistant. And I'm trying to work that out, but he's already hired him. So I'm in the thick of trying to figure out exactly what that looks like. And it's messy.
For us, we're not even really having that conversation until all the agents are meeting their minimum standards of contacts, closings, and appointments. So that's,
yeah, and he's one of our better closers too. He did 36 last year, so he's got big goals and on track with all of his goals. So he wanted a showing assistant. He used to have a team before he came over, and so he has a very known way of how he's going to run things. He's done it in the past, and now he's just trying to get us to fund it. But I like the Jen Davis model, where if they want to leverage out some of their money and hire more support, I support you and I'll help you hire that person, but you pay for them.
We're struggling with this as well, as Zach can attest to. It's been like our main topic of conversation. But our main agent closed 55 deals last year. I love the Jen Davis model, but I struggle with not bringing enough value to her. But I also wonder, part of the difference is a lot of her deals now are from her sphere. So maybe that's the difference. If you're providing the leads to the agent and then the agent is using the showing assistant, that's one thing. But if you have an agent that's bringing in a whole lot from her sphere, I could see it almost as a value added, like a way to retain that agent.
Does anyone on the call use that as a reward, like X dollars in GCI, and that earns you a showing assistant paid for by the team? Anybody doing that?
Well, and maybe it was said, but just to clarify, so the commission split is still coming from the agent is paying if it closes. It's the salary was covered by the team.
Yeah, so what we're thinking is just small $1,000 salaries so we can get them in the office when we want, kind of control their time as a W-2 employee, and then get a portion of the commission to them. And that would all come from the agent side. It's just that $1,000 salary who's paying that.
Don't you have a friend who does this, Cameron? Who does the pays for the showing assistants? Russell.
Oh, yeah. I actually have a call scheduled with him after this about something else. I'll have to ask him more.
You're welcome.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if it works or not. Ask Russell.
I think it's a really good conversation to have, right? Because there's a lot of talks even on the showing agent. I mean, not just in Keller Williams, but just in the real estate industry about moving towards more of that model, right? Because one of the benefits is, like Cameron pointed out, is you can control their time and schedule a little bit differently, right? Which is why a listing specialist per the model is salaried and then bonus. So you can control that and what they're able to do. But I'd love to hear anyone else running that other than Cameron, or thinking about running that with their ISAs where they pay a salary and then bonus.
Showing assistants.
Showing assistant, sorry.
So we ran this really successfully on our team, and it started out with the agent wanted it and she paid for it, and her production went up so much, and Cheryl, I think you said it. The team wanted to give her more value. So then we took on that salary. She still took the agent's commission, but we took on the salary. What worked really well was when the showing assistant then had downtime, she was lead generating with the team because we could hold her accountable to that. So we did have much more say in what her duties were once the team took over her salary.
And then what did you do with the leads that she generated? Did she also, I mean, I assume she wasn't also acting as an agent.
Correct. So she actually turned it over to the agent she was working with, and she would, because she generated that lead, she would get a piece of that, so a little bit of additional. So she was rewarded for doing the lead generation, creating the lead, and then it would go back to that agent.
Yeah, I will say with the agents having their own assistants, that one piece of not being able to control what they're doing is a problem at times, because then you have all these other people with their hands into the database pie. And if you're not telling them exactly how it needs to be handled, then there's issues. And so that is one thing. One of our VAs is actually managing those other VAs to give them information, but it is a problem. It is something to solve.
The other thing is most of these agents aren't good at managing people. So when you can take that on for them, the showing assistants end up being much more productive under our leadership than the agent's leadership.
It's funny, I hear all of these things and I just think like, it just makes sense for us to hire. Just even the fact of like our entity and payroll is already set up, ready to go. Like so easy to be like, hey, accountant, pay this person this much every month. Where some agents don't have something like that ready to go. But it's hard for me to justify adding a whole nother employee to help out someone. Like hopefully they close more, but I don't know that they will. I don't know.
I do think there needs to be a level there, Cameron. Like to me, I wouldn't hire a showing assistant for 36 a year. I mean, my agent was doing 50 a year when we got her, when she hired a showing assistant. She was doing 100 a year with a showing assistant that the team paid for.
Yeah, he needs to up his game a lot then.
Yeah. I mean, it was so worth it for the team to take on the cost of a showing assistant with her production.
Yeah, on average, it seems to be between that 50 and 60. It could be different. That just seems to be across everyone. When I talk to you, they fall somewhere in there where it's like, it makes sense to bring on that showing.
Life by design still though. So if they've got, if they just want to, I think that's one thing. But if you're talking about what's financially makes sense for the team to do, I think there should be a GCI limit. Now, the other thing we're not addressing is the GC, like the actual average sales price for your area. So you might have a really super high average sales price.
That's what I was going to say.
An agent with kids, and 36 is like so much money. You know what I mean? I don't know. So, well, I do know for you, Cameron, it's not. But for like Janet's market, that would be like so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would the territory come into play too? Because I know here in Atlanta, like our agents could be going from Buford to Johnson to Swanee, and then that's just like, I mean, just house to house, you're spending an hour or whatever time. And then, so I don't know maybe what your area is, but they may be able to handle more, where we're going to provide a showing assistant when we cross that bridge, when a buyer agent hits 42 a year. That's what's on their agreement.
Yeah,
and then what we've had is 36.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think paying attention to your market is really important, right? And I think having that standard, like Paul is saying, is important because one, we are committing that person is going to make some money, right? And they're going to be able to reach their goals. If not, what's the point of having them? And then two, the team spending the money. So I think a good recap or reminder is we should not be hiring this position and just to fill again a pain, because in the market we're in, if things are not closing, you potentially could run into a high turnover rate if we have a low salary because nothing's closing, right? So if a buyer's agent's just like, no, multiple offers, I'm showing all weekend because we have no inventory in our area, or at least, very low inventory, then what happens is your showing special will get burned out because they're just showing, and nothing's closing, and they're not reaching their goals and their money, their financial, and they're just going to think, well, this isn't worth it. So be careful of that when you look at what's happening in your market, that if you are considering, no matter who's doing it, we have that standard in place to ensure it's a win-win.
4 minutes left. What are we talking about next? No, next week is spring mastermind. So ignore the question. Next week, Zach, what's in place of this call next week?
So next week on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central, we will be going over Spring Mastermind Prep. And Spring Masterminds is all around Life by Design. There's 3 keynote speakers that will be happening on Wednesday. And then Thursday, there'll be a small little chat in the morning, and then we'll have breakouts where we'll be in the operations admin group, much like this, and we'll be discussing Life by Design topics. But our call will be Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central.
Love it. And then the week after that we're in the book, right? Or am I skipping a week?
Nope, we're in the book.
Yeah, okay. Cool. So cash flow quadrants the week after Spring Masterminds. If you've not got it yet, you still have plenty of time to buy it and read it. If you don't read it before, then come anyway, because you'll pick something up from the conversation.
And Cameron's hosting that call.
Ready.
Probably read it the most of all of us, I feel sure. How many times you read that, Cameron?
I think this is my 6th.
What? It's awesome.
Oh, you for sure are leading it. Be ready.
No, I haven't read a word of it. I've listened to it, so it doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It counts. It counts. Okay, gang. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, in preparation for a great Spring Masterminds. Have a great week.